Keith Thurman gets into it with a fan on the airplane after continuously dogging out Errol Spence after his loss to Terence Crawford. And the fan wants to know, did he all of a sudden forget about that he lost to Manny Pacquiao? And why is he continuously ducking Jaron Ennis? Well, in that argument, Keith Thurman claims that he's still undefeated. We're going to talk about what exactly went down in this video, but before we do that, make sure that you hit my like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already a sub to the channel. So yeah, man, this weekend, everybody know that Errol Spence, he took his first L to Terence Crawford. And Keith Thurman, man, he was so excited. He went around doing a tour, dogging out Errol Spence, talking about, yeah, Crawford beat that boy. Yeah, I told y'all he ain't never seen no boxer. Yeah, Crawford beat that boy. And Keith Thurman is salty because he didn't get that Errol Spence payday. He wanted a bag against Errol Spence, but when Keith Thurman was on top of the game, he didn't want to give Errol Spence a payday. He didn't want to get in the ring with Spence. So Spence, when he got on top of the game, he said, yeah, now the tables turn. Now you want to fight me and I'm not fighting Keith Thurman? I ain't never fighting you, Keith Thurman. The PBC and Showtime, they wanted Errol Spence to fight Keith Thurman. They didn't want Errol Spence to go into a fight with Terence Crawford because they knew that he had been off too long. So they were saying, look, go and fight Keith Thurman. Also, Terence Crawford is asking for too many demands. We can make a big mega fight with you and Keith Thurman. Errol Spence said no, and Errol Spence went on to sit out almost 16 months waiting on Terence Crawford because he didn't want to fight Keith Thurman. Errol Spence even went on social media a couple times and he says, when I say no, I mean no. My no means no. I'm never fighting Keith Thurman, and that's just what it's going to be. So obviously, Keith Thurman feels some type of way about that, right? Keith Thurman, he never got his chance to get in the ring with Errol Spence, but now Keith Thurman is living vicariously through Terence Crawford. He's so happy that Errol Spence lost, but he couldn't do it. You ain't the one that gave him his L, so sit your ponytail ass down somewhere. And now, Keith Thurman, he's trying to call out Terence Crawford now. Yeah, boy, come fight me, boy. Keith Thurman is just looking for a payday. You know what I'm talking about? So this past weekend, while Keith Thurman was leaving Las Vegas, he's still running his mouth about Errol Spence, still talking about, yeah, that boy got beat down. You know, Keith Thurman don't never shut up. He do everything but get in the ring and fight. So a fan started checking him, and the fan was like, man, you lost to Manny Pacquiao. You talking all that stuff, but you got your ass beat by Manny Pacquiao. You not undefeated. You lost to a 40-year-old man. Well, this is what Keith Thurman had to say when he got pressed by the fan, you know, on the airplane. This is on the airplane before the airplane is taking off. And this is what Keith Thurman had to say to that fan.
But even though Thurman got a loss, Thurman's never been defeated. I got an L from Pacquiao. I got an L because I barely lost. That's a BL, if you want me to use my alphabetical letters. That's a BL, okay? All right, I barely lost, okay? You actually got a big old D. You got defeated, okay? So if you ask Keith Thurman, my record is 30 wins, 1 loss,
on Facebook
and it's
Live.
still
I was looking,
undefeated. It might not make sense to you, it makes sense to me.
The Mike Tyson. Oh, okay. Hey, Keith Thurman, you want to spit
Hey, we gonna be close. We going to Austin, baby. We gonna be close. But I ain't gonna.
So y'all hear Keith Thurman, delusional as hell, talking about he's still undefeated. No, you're not still undefeated. And he talking about, I got a BL against Manny Pacquiao. I got a BL. That means barely lost. No, you lost. Matter of fact, I was at that fight ringside. Yeah, I was hearing and I was seeing those blows that you was getting hit with. And one thing that I noticed when I was at that fight is the big difference in that fight, right? Not even talking about the knockdown, because Keith Thurman, he didn't want to talk about how he got knocked down by a 40-year-old man, right? And then how he hit with a body shot, and he was running around the ring, running away from Manny Pacquiao, a 40-year-old man. We ain't even talking about all that. But one thing that I noticed in that fight, the big difference that made the key difference in that fight, is Manny Pacquiao was able to take Keith Thurman's power. But Keith Thurman wasn't able to take Manny Pacquiao's power. Every time Manny Pacquiao landed something on Keith Thurman, he was visibly affected by every shot that Manny Pacquiao landed on him. And that kept Keith Thurman from basically just locking in and sitting down on his game plan. You know what I'm saying? He didn't really lock into that fight until very late in that fight, and it was too late. Now, he could talk about he barely lost and all that stuff, but I was ringside. And I actually bet a whole lot of money on Keith Thurman to win that fight because I didn't think it was no way that a 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao was going to beat Keith Thurman, but I was wrong. And I ended up losing money. And before they even announced who won the fight, I already knew I had lost money because in my eyes, Manny Pacquiao had clearly beat Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman tried to make a little comeback at the end, but it wasn't enough. Now, they gave Manny Pacquiao a split decision, but honestly, from somebody that bet on Keith Thurman, I thought it was a unanimous decision. I didn't think the fight was as close as the judges had it. But with all that being said, Keith Thurman is on this plane trying to act like he's undefeated. Nah, dog, you got an L on your record. It don't matter how that L came. When we look up your box rec 10, 15 years from now, it's going to say that you lost. You lost to Manny Pacquiao. It's not going to say how bad you lost. It's not going to say how close the fight was. It's going to say that you lost. Just like on Errol Spence's record, it's going to say that he lost. Now, like I said, Keith Thurman is irrelevant in the sport of boxing now. He don't take no fights. You know, he even admitted that he could have fought in the pandemic, but he said, nope, I'm too good to fight without a crowd. So Keith Thurman continued to sit out a whole nother year. You know what I'm talking about? Keith Thurman has only fought like 2 fights in the last 5 years. Take your ass and go sit down somewhere, dog. You not relevant. You even turned down fights against Jaron Ennis. Now you said, oh, no contract was never on the table, son. They didn't never put no contract on the table, son. Keith Thurman fight anybody, son. Well, they asked you, did you want to fight Jaron Ennis? And you said you don't even know who he is. No. And then they came back and you admitted that you lied. You admitted that you knew who Jaron Ennis was. But then you said you're not interested in no Jaron Ennis. You said down the line, later on in your career, if that fight comes up and you have to fight him, well, that's what it's going to be. You've been ducking the man. And so before all this happened on the plane, Kyle Davis from the boxing section TBS, he confronted Keith Thurman on ducking Jaron Ennis. And I can't play the clip for y'all because it ain't my video. But yeah, he pushed up on Keith Thurman and he was like, you know, what's up with you and Jaron Ennis fight? And Keith Thurman immediately got hella defensive, started screaming to the top of his lungs, talking about, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? He got to get on my level. That boy got to get on my level. And he was like, man, he on your level. What's up? Fight him. Fight him then. Won't you fight him then? You know what I'm saying? If you think you can beat him, what's up? And Keith Thurman, you could tell he ain't even want to talk about Jaron Ennis. He got pissed off. He got to yelling at Kyle, talking about, oh, you watch this and I do this, boy. I do this, boy. You know what I'm saying? I do boxing. You watch boxing, boy. All that loud shit. Like I said, Keith Thurman is a world champion at running his mouth now because he don't never fight in the ring. You know what I'm talking about? And when he do fight every 2.5, 3 years, he fighting the tune-up. Now, Keith Thurman is supposed to be coming back fighting your Danish Ugis, but that's not even final yet. So let's see what Keith Thurman do. You know what I'm saying? Sitting around and he trying to wait for a payday with one of the top fighters. You know what I'm talking about? That's all he trying to do because nobody takes Keith Thurman serious no more because the man don't never fight. You know what I'm talking about? Like I said, the man that fought 2 fights in the last 5 years. Ain't nobody taking this dude serious. So he can scream all that tough talk all he want to. He can run around clowning on Errol Spence because he took an L to Terence Bud Crawford. But you ain't give him no L. You know what I'm talking about? And you took an L to a 40-year-old washed up Manny Pacquiao that turned around his next fight and got beat by Yordenis Ugas. Bad. Anyway, let me know what y'all think about this. How y'all feel about Keith Thurman going around clowning Errol Spence, living vicariously through Terence Crawford, and how y'all think about, Keith Thurman getting pissed off when Kyle pushed up on him and started asking him about fighting Jaron Ennis. Do y'all even think that Keith Thurman still got it anymore? Drop a comment in the comment section. Make sure that y'all hit my like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subbed to the channel. Y'all already know how I do. There you go, talking that boxing again, and I'm gone.